here to go and thank them.
Thank you, Ashley. And if I can have both Chief Summers and Chief Miller join me, I think Chief Summers must want to say something. He's got the microphone already. All right, so on behalf of these departments, I would like to make the following proclamation. So whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Freeport Emergency Communications Center. And whereas public safety communicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety communicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them with information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during their performance for their job in this past year. Now, therefore, I, Jody Miller, Mayor of the City of Freeport, by the authority vested in me, do declare April 10th through the 16th as National Public Safety Communicators Week in Freeport, in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. So thank you, chiefs, and to your entire staff, and especially to our telecommunicators. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to recognize the men and women who sit behind the computer and wait for the phone to call, and that's their job. They're there to make sure that our firefighters are safe going to the calls, trying to get them their information. They're there to make sure our police officers are safe. They're there to make sure our citizens are safe. A lot of times that people are calling in their emergencies. It's the calming voice that people hear on the other end that they do so much, and the stress inside that room is so high. None of us can imagine. I can't even imagine what some of those dispatchers go through as they're hearing the officers. They're hearing what's going on at the other end of the phone. They have an incredible job they do, and they're often overlooked. So if you see a dispatcher or telecommunicator, you know one, say thank you, because they really do a wonderful job for our city. Just not ours, but also at the county, who acts as a backup for our systems and everything like that. So sometimes we'll handle their calls, sometimes they'll handle our calls. So if you know one, see one, thank them, because they deserve it.
You know, the public often speaks about first responders as police officers, firefighters, EMS personnel. The true first responders in this case are the telecommunicators, the dispatchers. They receive the initial call for the emergency. They send out the appropriate resources, and as we are responding, whether it's law enforcement or fire or EMS, they inform us of any critical changes of conditions, things that we're going to experience when we get on the scene. And so their communication to us is a vital link to all of us being safe, all of us doing our jobs. So yes, as the police chief indicated, the telecommunicators are very important to what we do, and we appreciate them, not only for Telecommunicator Week, but every day that we show up to work. So thank you to them.
Okay, next we'll move on to item number 6 is appointments. Madam Clerk, could you please read this for the record?
Reappointment of Jeff Williams to the Firefighters Pension Board effective through April 30th, 2025. Reappointment of Gail Clore to the Police Pension Board effective through April 30th, 2025. And the appointment of Wayne Duckman as the city's representative to the Stevenson County Soil and Water Conservation District Board.
Thank you. If it's okay with the council, we'll just do this in one motion unless someone wants to pull something out.
Motion approved. Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Parker, seconded by Alderman Ross. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. And item number 7 is recognition of service awards. Manager Bucus.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to turn the time over to Fire Chief Miller and then to Public Works Director Boyer.
Okay, thank you. If I could have Lieutenant Jeremy March step up, firefighter Adam Holtz, and firefighter Matt Melanson come up to my right, please. Okay, the first reward is going to be to Lieutenant Jeremy March for 15 years of service. Jeremy has had several different positions within his 15 years. Currently a lieutenant on the department, was previously a mechanic, and still continues to be a paramedic and contributes quite a bit on a daily basis to our organization. So on the behalf of the city of Freeport and the fire department, congratulations on your 15 years. Okay, next is Adam Holtz. He also comes to us tonight with 15 years of service on the department. He's our EMS coordinator, and that is one of the more thankless jobs within the organization. He maintains all our paramedic supplies, certifications, training records, things of that nature, so it's very rigorous, and he's doing a fine job with it. So congratulations on your 15 years. And last is Matt Melanson. He's been with the department for 5 years. I heard you last time I was here, right? So, okay, well, I'm glad to see he's still here with us. He's doing a good job as well. Again, 5 years of service, so we'll recognize him for that. Nice job, thank you. How about you? I guess that concludes our service awards for tonight.
All right, thank you.
For fire department.
And thank you, gentlemen, for your dedication and service not only to the city, but also to the citizens. Thank you.
If I could have Bob Salaji step up. So Bob joined us in 2012, so we are celebrating his 10-year service award with the city of Freeport. Bob's responsible for a multitude of things, some of which are street sweeping, painting lines and road markings, plowing, and a multitude of other duties. Bob's also very helpful, and he cares deeply about the city of Freeport and its residents, and he received the 2021 Street Division Employee of the Year award this year. So I want to congratulate you, Bob, for your 10 years, and also want to mention that he's celebrating a wedding anniversary today. So anyway, here you are, sir.
Thank you, Bob, for your dedication and your example of what it looks like to work hard and be dedicated. I know you're quite committed, and we appreciate that. Next, we'll move on to item number 8, which is the first reading of ordinance 2022-18. Could you please read this?
Ordinance amending sections 1040.02, 1040.03, and 1040.05 of Chapter 1040 to clarify application and billing procedures, as well as tenant responsibility for water bills.
Thank you. I'm not sure if Alderman Busser or Shadle wants to lead his.
I can lead it. Yeah, this ordinance was drafted to address the issues we have with making people responsible for water bills actually having to pay them instead of just the owners of the property there. We need to stop the practice of taking money from people that are not responsible. So it was drafted, and I thought it was a good start to put for the board to discuss. It's by no means perfect, but you know, it's definitely something we can I think we can work with and get something going here. I know we've got a few other people that got comments to just kind of fine tweak it, and you know, this is just this jumping off point, I think. So, if anyone else says anything.
Alderman Shadle?
Yes, we discussed a multitude of changes that need to be made in a water and sewer department. The entire ordinance needs to be gone through. And that's something that Randy and Rob are in the process of working for. But this particular item has come to a head, basically, that we need to stop hitting the landlords at closings, property owners at closings for the responsibility of this. And if this gets further tweaked on down the line, then it does. But I think right now we need to stop this practice of hitting people up at closings a day before they're going to sell their property. And this, I think, will fix that. And then as we move forward, we can work on the rest of the ordinances from there.
Council? Alderman Borneman?
Thank you. So as you know, Mayor and Council, I've handed out a copy of what's attached to the ordinance as Exhibit A, and I made some tweaks to it. So since everybody has it in front of them, I want it to be easier to explain it in front of you rather than me trying to orally walk through the changes I thought were fair. So let's start with what you have in front of you, 1004.04C. So this is, we'll call this subsection C. This was not on the initial Exhibit A. And from my recollection of the issues raised by the property owners in our January meeting was a demand that, or just a request that they be notified of delinquency notices as they come into properties that they own. Not necessarily, well, in addition to liens, but also delinquency notices. So if a tenant is behind on their water bill, a notice goes out to the tenant through the city. This adds the requirement that notice would also go to the landlord's address. So as, you know, I don't think Exhibit A would have made that change without this add paragraph. So that's why I added that. And as you can see, if the property is registered in the city's landlord registration program, the city shall mail to the property owner at the property owner's address as listed in the city's landlord registration program a notice of delinquency specifying a date by which the delinquent aggregate bill shall be paid, and so on. So if that makes sense to some, this would put some obligation on the landlord to register through our registration program, and then it would require us to actually use the program to benefit all those registered. By allowing us to track down the address in a kind of track down the address, make sure it is registered. We have an address that we know we can send mail to the property owner, and it'll be a little easier for staff rather than them having to maybe look up tax records or not otherwise know. So if the property is not registered, this notice wouldn't go out. And that's how I have it written. So that's the first paragraph. I'll just keep going, and maybe you guys can ask questions. So the next one, this was initially the first paragraph in Exhibit A. So this is subparagraph F. My only comment on that is that we have this added language of including the property owner by certified mail about sending notices out. So this paragraph F, as I read it, I thought paragraph F has to do with liens on property for delinquent bills, whereas paragraph C above only dealt with the delinquency notices. And so again, like I said before, I think they're two separate issues, and I think they were brought up by the property owners that they wanted notice of both. So paragraph C provides that notice of both, and then F, you see the citation there, 65 ILCS 11. I think that already actually requires notice to the property owner per the tax identification number. But I'm not sure if that was being done, but this language, this wasn't my addition. It just says including the notice goes to the property owner by certified mail. That really doesn't change too much to the code. And I didn't make any changes to that. I just wanted to point out that it's kind of redundant because I think that's already required. But now that it's clear in the code, hopefully we have a process that we can start, and consistency is what we're looking for here. Next one, we have subparagraph A under section .03. So this is the language that struck me when I first read it as something we should maybe get rid of. All applications for combined municipal services shall be on forms provided by the city. We all agree with that. Number 2, or the next sentence, all people over the age of 17 that will be residing in the property have to jointly fill out the application and will be jointly liable for all bills. So in my draft, I've stricken that language for a couple of reasons. I think one is, let's talk about enforceability. How in the world could the city enforce that? Are we going to send people to these residences to make sure who's living there? What is it? Obviously they're going to submit leases. Maybe we submit leases, but at the same time, let's say somebody moves out. Do we have to then change the system, and then do they move back in? It'd be a record-keeping nightmare. And I, we talked at the January meeting about how does ComEd do it, how does NICOR do it. Those utilities aren't doing this, so I don't know why the city would take that extra step. So I think enforceability, I think it's just a record-keeping nightmare. I understand, the overall purpose of it is to let's track the delinquent users and make sure we hold them accountable and don't let them continue to scam the system. That's a great idea, but I think in practice it's going to cause more problems than it probably solves, because again, it comes down to the honor system. Someone can just walk in and say, this is all the people that are living at this residence. So for instance, let's say I buy a house in Cherokee Hills and I have a high school student as a child, which I don't. But somebody buys a house in Cherokee Hills. They have a student who's in high school, husband and wife, so they go in to register. The water department says, well, you need your wife and your children who are 18 years old who still live at home. Everybody's signing up for the water bill. The person will probably be pretty frustrated with that added burden of opening the water bill, but that person probably would follow through with it, right? And they'd register. But then you have people who, are, as we found, aren't going to follow the rules anyway. They're not paying their water bills. They're going from house to house, having properties and utilities shut off. I think that the people that this part is trying to maybe hold accountable, would just easily skirt that requirement, whereas the law-abiding folks would be subject to an added burden. It's a long explanation. Sorry about that, but that's my reasoning behind that. So I thought we should strike that language. Then with 03B, I didn't make any changes to that. But I did want to point out there is somewhat of an inconsistency there between paragraph F, which is above, and then B, because F appears to say that F outlines how the city would issue a lien on a delinquent property, and then including properties that are rented. And then B below says that rental properties cannot have liens on them for past tenant bills. So if you can see, there's somewhat of a contradiction there. It's kind of like, why do we need to outline the process in F if B doesn't even allow us to get a lien? But again, this is more, I think, a good quick fix, kind of a stopgap issue. I think the whole code itself needs a comprehensive revision, but these are some good starting points, and that's all. Stop talking and let anybody comment.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Monroe.
we've been chatting about this for quite some time now, and we keep coming back to issues with, seems to be the water department. And I'm really concerned that there's a personnel or a tools issue that's allowing these bills to get this far in the rear and not shutting them off according to the previous statutes that we had in place and the ordinance. And here we make changes to the ordinance without fixing the problem. And the problem really keeps coming back to the same thing. I have no idea how many bills are past due 60 days. I have no idea how many liens have been placed in the last 12 months. And I don't understand how you could get $1,000 water bill that's not been paid. I don't even have a clue how you can get to that, because I promise you I get 2 months out and Comcast shuts my internet off. It's like that. I've had my water shut off in the city of Freeport and been paid up on my bill. My, the person on the other side of the duplex had the same water line. So they shut my water off because they didn't pay the bill. So we've got big issues that we need to address. I mean, we can pass this, but we need to fix the problems. It's operational, period. And I know the men and women that are sitting in the audience right now, they're frustrated. I'm frustrated. We pay a lot of money in taxes. And I go back to, we've all sat and chatted in a room on a weekend going through what's our vision through 2040? How do we fix the city? How do we make it better? Connected and accessible. Well, not really accessible, because I'm hearing from the men and women sitting out here that we're not returning their phone calls. They've offered to help us. We will not take that help. The men and women sitting out there have said, hey, we want to get notified. I think the councilman sitting to my right has got some great ideas on how to do that. But once again, this responsive, efficient government is not going to get it done, because we're not getting it done with the ordinances that we have in place now. And we have ordinances that say shut the water off. And I understand that we've gone through something in our lifetimes that has been a big change for us, and that's COVID. Okay, that's waned. And we're sitting here still letting these bills pile up, and then we're going, hey, we're going to put a lien on your property. And that's not right. It's not efficient. It's not working with the public. It's not a strong private-public government relationship that we need in the city. And at this point in time, we've got to fix that. And if we can't fix that, this doesn't make a difference. None of it makes a difference. So we've got to figure it out. And tell us what we need to do on that side. And let's get back to running the city and not talking about it, how we're going to put a lien on somebody's property on something they haven't used. And I did a little quick look up. I'm not an attorney like my counterpart here, but $1,000 in services that were taken from the government, and the water's owned by government because we're selling it to the person. You get over $1,000, you've committed a felony. I believe. I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but I think you committed a crime if you do it over and over again and you have no intention of paying. Those are crimes that keep adding up on each other. And we need to address the problem and get to the point where we shut the water off. And I don't know if 60 days, and I know there are families out there that are hurting. And we've got to come up with a way that we can address those as well, because there are good people right now who are going through this that we can help out. But we work through it, and they say, hey, we're going to do a payment plan, whatever it might be. I mean, I think we've got to really think this ordinance through and come back to the drawing board. And then we all have to work together in order to get that done. And that's the only way they'll get done. Sorry for getting on the soapbox, but I thought it needed to be said.
No, that's okay. But just as a little point of clarity, finance department is to work with someone to make a payment process. I don't know that Michelle has ever tried any way. So,
and I'm not saying they're not.
Yeah,
So
right. So
Yep.
that's an option. Alderman Busker.
Yeah, I understand your frustration there, Alderman Monroe. I do feel that this ordinance here, if we move it forward, I think it will be a good start, because there's people buying and selling houses all the time, and if they're getting hit at closing with $1,000 water bills, that could make or break a deal in 30 seconds. And you could have 2 or 3 families displaced because they're waiting on one person to close in order to buy another house, and it can just be a domino effect, and it's destroying lives for someone that's not even responsible for that bill. I think this'll, we do need to look at how we're doing the shutoffs and everything, but this is something that can be enforced right away, and those bills won't be tacked onto those onto those closing statements. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to move this forward to the next meeting.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to move this forward by Alderman Buster, seconded by Alderman Monroe. I would have to guess that this discussion is ended. So are we going to implement, yeah, Alderman Parker?
I just want to say that I agree totally with what Alderman Borneman said, and I like some of the changes he put in here,
So to move it forward, do we want to actually maybe discuss this on the cow with what we're going to put forward before we do all that? I mean, I don't know that it's really ready to go on to second reading.
I think, discuss it at the cow and kind of get the things ironed out would be good.
And I have to agree with you, Alderman Borneman. Connecting the landlord registration, I think, is key.
Alderman Bus, a motion to move that forward specifically to the next council meeting? I don't know.
No, it was just moved forward. If
we can
move it to the
clarify
cow.
that you want to move
Yes,
it forward to the
let's-
cow?
Yes.
Okay. And there's a second to move it forward, cow, for further direction?
So then in the meantime, the directive would be that we look at implementing some of the things that Alderman Borneman had mentioned. Was there anything else that anybody wanted to add to that?
Do we vote on that if it's going to cow? It's not
We
for
typically-
approval, it's
yeah,
not
we
first
vote as-
reading.
Right, so we normally only do motion second is only required if we're going to move it forward for second reading. Since we're referring this to cow, I would take just a voice vote on it.
So the motion before you, council, made by Buster, seconded by Monroe, is to move this to the next meeting for the committee of the whole. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, anything further for discussion on this topic? Alderman Shadle, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I think we're good.
Manager Bucus, was there anything you wanted to add?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
All right, so if there's nothing further, we'll have that on next week's discussion. And I want to say thank you, Alderman Busker, for saying that this is not perfect, that there's things that you know that needs to be tweaked, so I appreciate that. Moving on to item number 9 is the adoption of Resolution 2022-29. Could you please read this?
Resolution approving engineering agreement with Fairgram for site assessment and grant application assistance for 17 and 19 West Main Street.
Thank you. Manager Bucus.
Thank you, Your Honor. The city gained possession of 17 West Main Street and 19 West Main Street through the county trustee tax sale. Both buildings are in need of repair. The Illinois Environmental Protection Agency removed several barrels from one of the buildings a couple years ago. Staff's been informed, has 2 informal requests to purchase the 2 buildings, and because of the prior use, an environmental assessment has to be conducted before we can sell the buildings. I received a proposal from Firm Graham to conduct that environmental assessment and to prepare a brownfield cleanup grant application if needed. The contract price is for $14,300 for the environmental assessment and $10,700 for the grant application. This is a total cost of $25,000. Funding would come from the Downtown Tax Increment Funding District, and I recommend the council approve resolution number 2022-29.
Manager Bucus, just for clarity, $10,700 is what it's going to cost us to apply for the grant?
Yeah, that could be, yes.
And what's the amount of the grant?
We don't know yet because we don't know what the problem is. We may not even have to apply, but I have a feeling that being a former dry cleaner, there's going to be some major issues there, and it won't be cheap.
Well, I'm just thinking if the grant's only $10,000, what are we doing that for?
No. Grants could be for more than that. If we've got an environmental problem there, who knows what we may have to do. We may have to tear down buildings, we may have to dig up the ground around it, replace it. We don't know. We may have to put pumps in to to collect groundwater and treat it, we don't know. So we don't know what the cost is. We don't know what the problem is, Your Honor, and therefore we don't know what kind of grant application we're going to be applying for.
Okay. Questions, council? Alderman Shadle?
This is a former dry cleaner.
Yes. One of the buildings, yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure what was next door.
My experience with that is that's opening a Pandora's box with a multitude of chemicals and issues that could arise from that. I would be in favor of this investigation to figure out where we stand. There's just can be a whole lot going on in these situations.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Monroe?
do we know if there was city sewer there, or was it, typical downtown, who knows where it goes?
I don't know. I assume there'd be city sewer there, but
Yeah, Fairground shaking their head, yes.
is there? Okay. Don't know when went down sewer either at the time.
Yeah.
Alderman Borneman?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Borneman, seconded by Alderman Monroe to adopt Resolution 2022-29. If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Busker?
Aye.
Shadle?
Aye.
Borneman?
Aye.
And Monroe.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 6-0.
Thank you. Item number 10 is the adoption of Resolution 2022-30. Could you please read this?
Resolution approving settlement agreement with Helm Group regarding Woodside Drive resurfacing.
Thank you. Director Boyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Following concerns with the performance of work on Woodside Drive, Terrace, Lane, Circle, and Court, the following agreement is submitted for resolution of the matter. Staff worked with Helm to develop an agreement that is mutually agreeable. So staff requests council approve resolution 2022-30 and approving the settlement agreement for mutual release with Helm.
Questions for Director Boyer?
Mayor.
Alderman Ross?
Yes, Director. So they're going to redo Woodside Drive again?
Actually, this agreement makes the city whole in that it provides cost of hot mix at just the input cost, so around $48 per ton. They're waiving any bills that any materials that we use to perform repairs ourselves, and they're recovering, or they're reimbursing us for damages to Dr. Elber's driveway. So.
Okay, so they'll be redoing the work then?
No, we will. They're giving us substantial, basically, discount on hot mix to the extent that they're not making any money on it. They're asking to the city at cost.
Okay, thank you.
And you've agreed to 3,000 tons. Do you think that's sufficient?
That's approximately what we need to do with Side Drive, yes.
And what if we go over? What will be the cost then?
Well, at that point, we'd be paying market value, or whatever our bid price would be.
Alderman Parker?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Parker, seconded by Alderman Ross to adopt Resolution 2022-30. If there's no further discussion, yes, Alderman Borman.
I wanted to clarify. So the city will be not just patching, but resurfacing?
Yeah, that would be the intention. So this hot mix offer will go through 2022, so it may not all get used on Woodside Drive. It may be a portion of other projects throughout the city, but the intention would be to repave Woodside Drive with hot mix.
Okay.
Are we going to go over the top of the pavement that's there? Is that, I see a nod, yeah.
Yeah, essentially, we've done base repairs already. The reason the city needs to do this work is there's a number of issues with drainage in that area. We need to be able to work through those drainage issues and not be dealing with sort of a situation where I don't know what our liability on the drainage stuff would be. So if we had somebody else doing the work, I don't want to be in a position where we're making change order after change order dealing with drainage. I just want the city to take care of what needs to be taken care of, and then when we get it done, we'll go over it with hot mix. So there is plenty of good base there. There's areas where we've repaired the base, and there's a few areas that we still need to do some repair. We're going to do that work, and then once it's completed, we're going to do an overlay.
So on the curves and places like that where the dump, or not the dump truck, but the garbage trucks are going and it's tearing it up, is that where we're fixing it, or, you know, all of that type stuff as well?
Yes, everywhere it's soft and it's crumbling on the edges, we'll be going back and reinforcing that and fixing it. That wasn't all in the scope of the original scope of work. It should have been, and we're going to go back and make it right.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, sir.
Anything else? Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
And Monroe.
Aye.
That resolution is adopted 6-0.
Item number 11 is adoption of Resolution 2022-31. Could you please read this?
Resolution approving MOU with Freeport Park District regarding Bircher Avenue.
Thank you. Manager Bucus.
Thank you, Your Honor. City staff met with the Park District staff and Firm Graham to discuss the reconstruction of several areas within the park area on Birchard Avenue. Areas of concern included, but are not limited to, the vehicle parking that routinely has parking lot that routinely has vehicles hanging out into traffic near Little League Diamond, the lack of sidewalks on the east side of the soccer field area, Americans with disability access in the parking area to a sidewalk or crossing, a safe crossing from the parking area to the baseball field, tree removal at the parking area, and sheet flow drainage issues at the park driveway towards the pool. The city indicated if the Park District would participate monetarily for the improvements to the park area, the city would be willing to extend sidewalk down the trail from Empire Street to the bridge near the Park District office on the east side of the street, which currently has no connectivity but is a highly traveled area. The city's overall plan is to add this park area work to the Summer MFT Street Improvement Project from Birchard Hills to Lincoln Boulevard on Birchard Avenue. The City Council has previously reviewed the concept plan and the Memorandum of Understanding at their March 14, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting. Staff has discussed the Memorandum of Understanding with the Park District staff, and the Park District reviewed the concept plan and the cost at their March 14th meeting, and it's anticipated they will approve the Memorandum of Understanding at their April 5th meeting, which would be tomorrow night. Our original focus was milling and overlaying on Birchard Avenue from Lincoln Boulevard to Empire Street. The cost of this project is $611,400. We're also looking at and considering the milling or an overlay from Empire Street to Birchard Hills Water Tower. This is estimated at $48,600. The proposed work by the Park District is just under $72,000, and this will include design only of the ramps, curb, and sidewalk in the park area. I'm recommending that the City Council enter the Memorandum of Understanding with the Park District in the amount not to exceed $72,000. This is a good project. It shows cooperation between two entities, and it's an improvement that is much needed and will further enhance the quarter that was started with the Empire Street reconstruction project. It also enhances the gateway to the FHN hospital. Therefore, I recommend that Council approve Resolution 2022-31.
Alderman Busker.
Motion to adopt. Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Monroe. Discussion, Council? Alderman Shadle?
My comments were just that this is a tremendous
Manager Bucas, can you explain where the finances are coming from for the difference?
I'm sorry.
The difference, you've got 611, difference of 72,000. Where's the money coming from the difference?
The $72,000 would be coming from the parking district.
Yeah, the remaining balance. Where does that come from? What fund?
It's coming from our MFE program, motor fuel tax funds.
That's what I wanted you to say. Okay. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Ross.
Aye.
Excuse me, Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
And Monroe.
Aye.
Resolution is adopted 6-0.
Thank you. Item number 12 is the adoption of Resolution 2022-32. Could you please read this?
Resolution in support of tax increment financing.
Manager Bucas.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've asked for this resolution to be placed on the council agenda tonight because there's been attacks in General Assembly on the use of tax increment financing. In particular, Senator Gillespie from Arlington Heights had a Senate Bill 2298, which would grant the Joint Review Board of a TIF district veto-like powers over the creation and extension of a TIF district and alter any criteria for determining what is light within that proposed redevelopment district. The Illinois Municipal League tried working with her. It didn't pan out. She put the bill forward. It was never made out of committee. It wasn't voted out of committee, but it's our understanding, by our, I mean mine, and what I'm hearing from the Illinois Municipal League, that that provisions, or at least portions of her bill, may be placed inside the different portions of the budget that's being considered at this time. And the Illinois Municipal League is asking us and asking all communities and to pass a resolution opposing any changes to the TIF district that would be detrimental to the benefit of economic development. As you know, this is one of the few tools we have in any type of economic development activities. And so I'm recommending to the council that they adopt resolution 2022-32.
Questions? The hope of this resolution, if enough municipalities get behind this to support the IML on this particular subject, it will give them more ammunition that when it comes before the General Assembly, they can present it as this is what the people are saying. So, Alderman Shadle?
That just answered the question. Thank you.
And if I may, Madam Mayor,
Go ahead.
one of the reasons we were able to defeat Senate Bill 2298 is because we wrote letters. The mayor contacted our state legislators, and almost every community in the state did likewise, and that's why it never made out of committee.
And the concern is that this is going to slide in under something that has nothing to do with TIF districts. It's just going to be put in, is what their concern is.
Right, especially at the 12 o'clock hour. I think last year they passed the budget at 3 o'clock in the morning. This is one of those type of things that they would slide in that nobody knows anything about.
I make a motion to adopt.
Second.
All right, we have a motion made by Alderman Shadle, seconded by Alderman Busker. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
And Monroe.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 6-0.
Thank you. Item number 13 is reports from department heads. Finance?
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to report that the Finance Department started today on the implementation of ExecuTime. It is a software that will be tied into our financial software for paperless timesheets. So as it is right now, every employee outside of aldermen and commissioners turn in a paper timesheet in order to be paid. This software will go out amongst all the departments and people will log in their time. It also encompasses advanced scheduling for both the police and fire departments and also the library. We've been waiting for over a year to get this started. The software company did not have any implementation specialists, with all the, people, shortage of workers. We finally have our person and we started today. should last about 4 to 5 months before we're done.
Thank you. Community development?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to give an update on the FEMA PDM grant. I've been speaking with Ken with the Value Pros, the appraiser, and he's contacting property owners and setting up appointments to do the first round of appraisals. So I've been working with him, which is a good thing. Also wanted to report that I've also been talking with several other appraisers about the 2 RFPs we have out. So there's one RFP for 22 properties with a 3-month timeline, and another one independent RFP with 37 properties, which has a 4-month timeline. I've been speaking with several appraisers and working to get those. They're working to put bids together, and so that deadline is April 7th, and that's what we're working with people to apply for that. Also wanted to mention that the Downtown Facade Improvement Grant, those applications will be due April 12th.
Do you have much interest in that yet?
Unfortunately, as of right now, we do not, so I'm hoping to put the word out again as much as I can. We've had the workshop, we've been advertising it, and again, just mentioning it here tonight, trying to do what I can to get more applications in.
Okay, thank you. Public Works?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just wanted to give an update on the snow. We had about 5.5 inches Saturday, and we were able to clear the streets within about 4 hours. And we also had a large tree come down on Stevenson, so that was blocking both lanes of traffic. We got that removed rapidly. So that's all I've got for tonight.
Thank you. Fire Department?
Thank you, Your Honor. This week we received our ladder tower truck back from shop for repairs. They were able to fabricate a steering part for us. Our Fire Marshal Brochus completed Inspector 2 class this week. It's a rather rigorous curriculum that she did quite well in. Our Engine 1, the smaller aerial, is going to Nebraska on the 11th of April. It'll be gone for about 4 to 6 weeks. We're taking it out there ourselves, so we won't incur any overtime or any additional charges related to transporting it out to that location for repairs.
Thank you. Police?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have no report tonight.
Thank you. Library?
Just happy National Library Week, that's all. Thank you.
IT? All right, and I believe that concludes department reports, unless Manager Bucas, did you have something on behalf of the Communications Director?
No, just to say that she's helping Highland Community College at the national debate competition for community college, I guess, junior colleges in St. Louis, and we're proud of the work she's doing, helping these students.
Thank you. And then if you want to give your report?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. First, the Northwest Illinois Enterprise Zone Committee reviewed the city's 3 requests, that being the former Kmart property, the Meadows Shopping Center, and the Park Partners property to be added to the Enterprise Zone. The committee did approve the request, and now a public hearing will be scheduled, and a vote by the 6 jurisdictions that make up the Enterprise Zone will occur as well. We're probably looking at about another 2-month process before everything is done there. Staff also received a notice from the Illinois Housing Development Authority that they are considering financing a 27-unit multifamily low to moderate income project on Yellow Creek Court. We have not talked to the developer, nor have we seen any plans for this development. And also, the unemployment rate for the city of Freeport at the end of February was 5.4%, which compares to 8.5% for February a year ago. And that's all I have for tonight. Or, excuse me, Your Honor, I do have one more. We were also contacted today by NICOR. They're planning to cut our brand new street on Empire to do a disconnect on the gas line. We're going to meet with them and tell them that they can't do it. They did
well,
that
at least
to us.
they asked this time.
Well, after we did Flow Street, Your Honor, they went in, I don't think it was 2 days after we were finished, they put the first cut in. And since then, this street's only 2 years old, they put in, I think, 12 or 13 cuts in the road. So now we got all these patches in a brand new road. And all I can say, Your Honor, is I'm going to do all I can to prevent it from happening on Empire.
Thank you.
We spent $2 million on that road, or $1 million.
That's frustrating. So just wanted to take a moment to remind the listening audience and the council of a couple of events coming up this Saturday, which is April 9th. There's an event, fundraiser featuring backcountry roads at the Masonic Temple to help offset the expenses for downtown beautification efforts. The band starts at 7 o'clock. I believe the doors open at 6. There's food and a cash bar available. Tickets are available for $20 each. And again, that's a fundraising event for downtown beautification efforts. Also next Wednesday, which is April 13th from noon until 4, there is a blood drive in the municipal lot across from the Stewart Center on Douglas. So if you can physically do that and you have time, I know that that is also a need within the community is for blood drive, and that is being hosted by Senator Stewart. So thank you in advance for your participation. Council announcements. Alderman Ross.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Parker.
I just want to touch a little more on the dispatcher's job. It's, it's taking call dispatching, but in their position, I've been there and seen it, that during the medical emergency or a police issue, the actual action is going on at that time. So the dispatcher has to attempt to talk them through this, and unfortunately a few times it went real bad, and it was a very huge emotion for them. So they are angels, and I just wanted to thank them. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Busker.
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. Alderman Shale.
Just being back to our talk about the water ordinances, I'm confident we can get through and get this tweaked at the committee meeting next Monday, and then we can get this taken care of. And just reiterate that there's a multitude of things that need to be done to the ordinances in general, and we will get to those two in time, but this one needs to get taken care of.
Thank you. Alderman Borneman.
Thank you, Mayor. So I wanted to bring up another area that I think we should add to the cow regarding kind of reworking, and it ties in with the water billing, but it's under a different title, so I didn't bring it up this evening because that wasn't on the agenda. So I handed out to all of you section 1055.03. So I'm asking that this section and potential discussion of amending this be added to next week's, cow committee of the whole meeting. And just for a summary, when a water service is shut off at a property, that property is continued to be billed for the services or for the water and sewer capital improvement funds for 12 months, even if there's no service at all. And I think anybody who hears me say that kind of probably scratches their head and wonders how that could be. So we're hoping to change that, and I think if we bring this on there, we can get that fixed, because that is just something that needs to be changed. And I presented to you just a proposal. Obviously, this isn't set in stone, and it's just open to discussion on the topic, but I thought this might be a way, proposed language to fix it. And Madam Clerk, I provide you with a copy of that as well. So other than that, thank you. That's all I have.
Alderman Borneman, in order for a council member to put something on an agenda, you need two. Do you have someone else that?
I'll second it.
Alderman Busker. Okay. All right. Thank you. Alderman Monroe.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 17 is public comment. Is there any public comment? Yes, Tommy.
Going. You said all the game muck is gone. And what about that Southport update?
Nothing at the moment, Tommy.
And Rob, thank you for that hat. And that hard hat's looking good.
Thank you, Tommy. Julie?
estate options. Just want to bring up a couple things. So I wanted to clarify the date of the committee of the whole is next Monday? Okay, and I did want to mention that the water department already does collect on their, they do require a rental agreement when you get water on, and that needs to list the name of the landlord or property manager along with all residents age 18 and over. But it would be nice if we actually use that rental registration for something, so I think that's good. And then I just ask that you consider pausing the current procedures that seem to be happening in the last 2 weeks of stopping tenants from getting water on when they're moving into a place. If there's outstanding water bills at the address they want to move into that don't belong to the owners or the landlords. So if we could somehow pause that until we get this resolved, that would be nice. And then I just ask that you invite landlords to the table to discuss solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. If you could please state your name.
Joel Harms, I'm a landlord here in Freeport. I haven't got into any of these bills coming to me or anything, but I've heard from other landlords that have. You have a leak out there that these people are using water. If somebody was driving down Locust Street at 4:30 and water was boiling up out of the street, there would be a crew sitting there probably working overtime to fix it if it was big enough water leak. You have a water leak at all these properties that you're not shutting off. What's the difference of fixing the water line out on Locust Street or shutting off these little leaks? All these little leaks are going to be adding up more than that leak on Locust Street. I just don't understand why it's a lot easier to go shut off a valve than dig up the whole street and have to repair the street, repair the water line, and all that. I don't understand why the water isn't getting shut off when people are not paying their bill. It's just like a water leak. Somebody needs to go, I think some people need to go down to the water department and see how that's running and see if they need more software or something to get this revolved. Sitting here and writing up, you can write up paperwork after paperwork after paperwork. That's not going to fix the problem. You got to plug the leak. Thank you.
Thank you. Ashley?
Ashley Heilman. I just want to bring up a couple things from listening to you guys speak tonight. One of the things I want to also point out when you're looking at this ordinance is please remember that some of these people that are delinquent aren't actually tenants. Some of them are owners too, so that might be why some of the wording is the way it is, because owners can be delinquent as well. So it's not just the tenants that can be the issue. The other piece behind it is that I know the rental registry was brought up again this evening, and I will bring it up again, that if you have this rental registry in place, you require our owners to submit the paperwork. You also require that there's a local contact. I'm a local contact for 9 owners right now, and I can guarantee you I've received no type of notice on any of my properties in regards to ordinance violations, high water usage, delinquent bills, shut-offs. I'm not getting any of that to support these properties. And if we're trying to do something better, we need to get the other people involved, that you ask them to do this. You ask them to have someone local to take care of it. I can't speak for everybody that's listed as a local contact, but I know that I want to know when there's high usage. I want to go to the property and get the water leak stopped before I have the $563 bill that my owner is paying because the tenant didn't tell me the toilet was running. I would like to stop that, and you need to take into consideration there are people out there that want to fix the issue as well. And so I hope you involve us in that communication. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Miller. Dave Walgood, property owner at 527 West Douglas. I had the opportunity to visit with you guys back in January, and
then at that time also spoke on a non-agenda item. And while my comment tonight is technically not an agenda item, it is kind of related. I've seen the passion with you folks when it comes to wanting to build equitable relationships, relationships with the park district and relationships with these other entities. And the housing providers that are being very diligent and being relentless and being tenacious about what their concerns are, they're not going to want to go away. This, I think, is a great opportunity to establishing a partnership. So I'll be the first one to say that not everything that has transpired regarding the water issues were within the city's control, within the housing provider's control. Not everything is with anybody. Not everybody has control of everything. We had the issues with COVID. Housing providers inherently wind up inheriting issues if they purchase a piece of property that's occupied. They have to honor leases. They have to honor rental agreements. But this is a great time to develop a working partnership with these housing providers to help develop a good, solid foundation for resolving the issue and finding a really good way of making it work. That partnership's got to recognize responsibility, liability, and accountability. And I think that the housing providers have stepped up and really want to try to not necessarily be a pain, but really, really want to work with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Jilly, before, I just want to make sure there's anybody else that, Marianne, did you want to speak then?
Notes from the meeting, so I may sound a bit discombobulated, but I will do my best. Okay, I had made a information request concerning the Park Partners development proposed and preliminarily approved at 1601 South Park Boulevard. One of those things was for a traffic study, and I was informed there wasn't one. And I find that interesting because that development will provide increased traffic, that maybe there'll need to be stop signs, yield signs, that kind of thing, but it's an excessive amount of traffic for a neighborhood like that. We've got 2-lane roads, and that's all they are 2-lane. There's no shoulder through that neighborhood for the most part. The entrance to Crepe Park is a single lane coming and going. There are 2 hills between on one side of Demeter, one side of La Cresta, that impair visibility for oncoming traffic from both directions. Add to that the bike pedestrian path in between, and you're going to add 32 units on a single piece of property that is going to cover an area uphill from Crepe Park. In Crepe Park, I have a copy of the master plan here. They already have flooding problems, and there is not a plan that I can see for there to be water directed away from Crepe Park or collected, so it doesn't cause more flooding in Crepe Park than we already have. I haven't seen any proposed water and sewer plans. I've asked for them, but they don't exist so far as I know, because there surely will be disruptions for existing customers if they're trying to put 32 units on Park Boulevard. I haven't been able to track down any meeting minutes on that. I requested, concerning park partners. Okay, I'm looking for my notes here. One, who are they? Because right now they're in the name of a Fado company kind of thing. Can't find it out.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Your time has exceeded. And Julie, it's not our normal practice to let, but we know you didn't use your full 3 minutes, so if you want to finish something. Well, but the audience won't be able to hear you, so you might as well step up.
Besides good communication with housing providers, I also ask that there's good communication with the water department. I talked to someone at the water department a week and a half ago, and she was like, all of a sudden we're supposed to follow all these things from some 2018 ordinance that we never even knew existed. So I thought that was very interesting, and so we need to keep them involved too. With
Yeah, I think that's kind of interesting too. So, thank you. Are there any other public comments this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 18. Madam Clerk, could you please read this for the record?
Pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
Is there a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Ross, seconded by Alderman Shadle. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
And Monroe. The motion passes